relationships with farmers. And I wanted to do that because, like, growing up, you know, my maternal grandfather, he had like a mango tree, and it was like a big deal when like the mango was ripe, you know, the one mango a year. And it's like, I had also my step grandfather, he had like a garden because they have a big property up in Oregon, and he had a garden. I remember him like walking through it with him, and him eating like early girl tomatoes straight from the vine.
Yeah.
He had a salt and pepper shaker, and those are like big deals for him. He's like, these are better than topsy-turvy tomatoes, and they were, you know. And it's like, so that pride and all those things, like, that's what I wanted to see. Like, I wanted to be close to farmers. So, you know, like, kind of backtracking a little bit, the start of me being there, and once I started to get a little bit more of a handle of my station, at that point, like, Tusk was the only one who went to markets. Like, he would go to Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday markets. And I was like, all right, so I want to go to the market too. And I remember like hitting him up, and like, I remember like kind of following him when he was like trying to leave. And I'm like, hey, like, it's Friday night. I was like, hey, chef, can I go with you to the market tomorrow? He's like, yeah, be here at like 6:45. I was like, okay. So, and then I, you know, from then on, like, I would always go to the markets with him, every market. And, you know, that was the biggest thing. And like, you know, being able to go to the markets with Chef Tusk was such a huge, like, for me, it was just like great to be able to do it, right? Like, learning from him and meeting the farmers, and then also I met other chefs. Like, I remember meeting Brandon Jew at that point, like, and just like so many other chefs that talked to him, and he'd introduce me and like to farmers and the chefs, and like, it was just such a great experience to be able to be like, okay, like, this is when you pick passion fruit, you know,
yeah.
like when it's super wrinkled and nice, and like, that's when it's super sweet. This is like, you know, yeah, like, he would just buy, like, I remember he'd be like, yo, go buy all these potatoes. And I'd buy them out of everyone, and like all the other chefs would be pissed. But it's like, you know, like, he would just buy all these beautiful products. Maybe not everything had an initial plan for the menu, at least like that you knew of. But then you go into menu meetings, and he's like, yo, you're going to do this, this, and this with like what we got from Annabelle or what we got from Lee at Tierra Vegetables. And, you know, it was super important to learn those kinds of things, because like, going to the markets with Tusk like also helped me understand his food a lot more and his philosophy, and you know, then being able to go, I started doing that like when I was on pasta, and then being able to go to entremet, like the hardest thing was like transferring over and like learning how to manage your day, you know, like doing all those things. But like, the greatest thing was being able to go to the market with Tusk and being like picking up chorizo and butternut squash and candy cat mushrooms, and then being like, yo, go grab all those things. Like, this is a set we're going to do. You need to do this and this, all this stuff. And it's like, oh shit. Okay. Like, we just picked this up 2 hours ago, and now it's on the menu tonight. Yeah. You know, like, whatever I did yesterday doesn't fucking matter. Like, we picked up all this shit, and now I got to clean all this stuff, puree it, process it, do whatever. But, you know, again, like, so at this point, like, in 2011, I'm like, what the fuck? I was like 19, I think, or 20. I don't know. I was super young. Again, I don't know shit. And it's one of those things where, like, being at Quince was super important. And the executive sous chef, this guy Trent, he was like, I remember him telling me pretty early on, he goes, you need to stay here for a while, like at least 3 years. Like, stay here and learn the style, learn what Tusk does. And then Trent left, and there was no CDC, but at that time there was the CDC of Cotogna was Tim Kaspar, and incredible guy, like such an incredible chef. This guy is the most talented, technically sound chef I've ever worked with in my life. Like, he was before a sous chef at 11 Madison Park. Yeah. And like had opened it with Danielle, and like, he was just super intense dude. But he was an English teacher in his previous life. So like, he was also like really great teacher. Okay. So I remember sitting down in the PDR with Chef Tusk, and we're like going over everything. He was, all right, so now, like, just so you guys know, Tim Kaspar is going to come over and be the CDC. And like, Tusk is at the head of the PDR table, and I'm on the right hand side, and he goes, he's going to teach you how to like be a cook. Like he's like, Pena, you're gonna learn how to be a cook. He's gonna teach you. Because like I was on intermittent, like I didn't really know. Like before I met Tim, I honestly don't know how I got through my days. Like I don't know how I got to the plate. I don't know how any of that shit happened. But I remember because me entremet in the Quince kitchen, you're like right there by the expediter. So like you're the first line to get like. They're gonna watch you the whole day, the whole service, and like. So
they kind of got your back. Yeah,
they kind of got your back, but then also you're like, if they're pissed, like you're kind of going down too. But, I remember, working with Tim was so huge because he's the one who taught me how to like create a prep schedule, like for my station. So at that point, it's like. Me, entremet, you got your things that you have to do every day. You have to make a vegetable puree, not every day, but like you have to make purees, you have to blanch, you have to cut, you have to pick greens, things like that. So he's like, you're here on the station 5 days a week. So you need to like do purees Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and like do this much puree, and then you need to cut like these days, and you need to like make it where Saturday you're free. So
Saturday's your day.
Yeah,
that's
so
your relaxing day. You get ready.
Yeah, relaxing day, but you also have time. So like a big thing, like going to the markets with Tusk was super huge too because it gave me time one-on-one with him. So like I took advantage of it. Like when we're driving to Marin, like maybe like I asked too many questions, but like I would just talk to him about everything. Like and he'd be super candid with me. And like I remember like asking him like like just in general, there's a lot I learned from him that like helped me develop into what I am. Like working with Tusk, I always wanted to work with him, but I knew when I left, like I didn't, and a lot of it was from him. He's like, people shouldn't leave my place and be a carbon copy, like when you learn from these chefs, you're learning their philosophy and you're learning their like all these things. But like, I guess for me, I was like, that's how you build your style, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how you become the chef you are.
Yep.
You don't want to be like doing the same things or like, I don't want to be a carbon copy of like my time there at Quince.
No,
like,
definitely not.
So much of my career is built off of that time there, but like, if I spent that much time learning how to make, the ravioli gigante, like why would I continue doing that the rest of my career?
Yeah.
And not in his space either. So, for me, it was shit, lost my train of thought. But for me, it was like super great to be able to learn from Tim because he taught me how to create a prep schedule. And then, so those Saturdays were free, right? But I was still going to the markets with Tusk, and like Saturdays were a really cool day because we get in early, go to the Ferry Plaza building, round everything up. And most of the time we're like picking things up off the truck, talking to the farmers as they're setting up, and then we get back to the restaurant, unload, and he'd be like, yo, go grab some lambs, and we're going to break down this lamb.
Yeah.
So learning how to break down whole animals from him and like, fish and things like that were super huge. So for me, a lot of what he would tell me too, he's like, so many people come through my restaurant and it's like, then like on their last 2 weeks, they want to like just be making pasta. He goes, but you had this whole time working with me and you're going to wait until your last day to try to learn how to make pasta. He's like, if you leave here, you should know my doughs off the top of your head. You should know how to do all these things. So I took all that in and being like, okay, like one, I learn more when I'm there for free because like that's my wage, like that knowledge. Mm-hmm. And two, like I do plan on being here and I want to learn as much as I can. So even like on Saturdays when there were free days, it was like just doing garnishes and things like that. I would be with my meat cook and we'd be breaking down pigs and veal and everything, like learning how to do that. Like for me, it's like what we talked about earlier when you were like, cooks these days, they want to do all these things, but then they don't want to like prep their station or they don't remember that, right? It's like, I tell everyone, I was like, I can teach you how to do all those things, but like you have to find time in your day to do that. Like you can't just be like, oh, like
expecting you to do it for them. Or like I don't want to start service and be like, I just showed you how to break down a whole lamb and we had this really cool class and all these things, but then like you don't have anything for service. You're
like,
not ready for service. Exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
You can't do that.
Not good. So after your time at Quince, how long were you there total?
Okay, so in total, so like, all right, so Quince, I was there in like 3 stints.
Oh, okay, got you. So after that first stint, where do you go?
So my first stint, I was there and I wanted to be on Entremet the whole time, and then like I remember because of Tusk's strong Italian connection, I was like, I want to go to Italy. And I've always wanted to travel. Like as a kid, my grandparents traveled, and they'd bring back little knickknacks from wherever they went, like Morocco, Spain, and Paris, and everywhere. So I was like, I want to travel. So, and I can go and cook and do that. So I remember talking to Tusk, and I was like, I want to go to Italy. Like I have a good understanding of what your Italy is, but I want to see it for myself. And I remember him being like, okay, like, you know, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I'd like to stage somewhere. And he put me in contact with some people, and he was like, I'm going to put you in contact with this chef. Her name was Alice Del Corte. She owns and runs this really great restaurant outside of Milan called Erba Brusca. Mm-hmm. And he was like, you know, just go work there and, like, show them what you can do, and they'll put you in contact with more people. Like, that's how it works, right? Yeah. Like, you know, if you show them that you're willing to work or you're, like, there to learn, like, if you're cool, they'll introduce you to other people, right?
For sure.
So, so I left Quince to go to Italy, and I was there for 3 months, and what a great experience. Like I said, like Alice Del Corte, like the chef there at Erba Brusca, she was amazing. She taught me so much. She's this really beautiful restaurant, like small place with a garden in the back, and like, you know, she was very much in the same vein of like using small farmers and changing the menu every day. And, you know, and then she put me in contact with another chef, this guy Cesare, who owns a restaurant Ratina, and they were like, it was cool being there because like they're like super Milanese cuisine. So it's like ossobucos and risotto alla Milanese, so like so many risottos, and like I remember getting shit from the other cooks, and they're like, I was like mounting the butter, and they're like, oh, you have to do it counterclockwise, you can't do it clockwise. It's like, does that really matter? I was like, okay, sure, like I'll do it. But no, it was such a good experience. And then from there, I remember going. It was around April, so like the Cesare, he was in charge of a kitchen in a hotel up in the Alps.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, what are you doing like this weekend? Like, do you want to come with us? And we do this like feast like for the hotel guests and everything. And I was like, yeah, sure. So like that was the cool thing, right? Like it just kind of kept on rolling into like going up to the Alps and like staying in a hotel and like cooking with them, and like such a cool experience. And like for me, going from there and just like learning how to live without like, because a lot of like how I like to do things is like, or how I like to do things like very structured. Not that it's not anymore, but like being in Italy, it was like crazy to just kind of like go from here to there and like learn how to like, you know, just go with the flow and like, you know, really get some great experiences. Because then I met another friend from like culinary school, and like I was staying in Rome, and she's like, let's go to Sorrento. And I was like, what the hell? I was like, I can't really go. But then we went and had an incredible time, had like really great dinners and things like that. And like living like that was just, it was important to go through that too, for like the rest of my life. Because I think for me, like just being able to like let loose in some sense, right? You have to like kind of let things happen to you too.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be such a control freak where you just like kind of close yourself off from experiences. And so I went through Italy, and it was really cool. And when I initially left Quince, it wasn't, you know, I got a good understanding of Italy, and when I left Quince, I never really like talked about coming back. It wasn't something where it was like, oh, okay, cool. Like after 3 months or when I get back from Italy, I'm coming back to work at Quince. I actually ended up going back to Orange County and living back with my mom, and then like I got this. So I met back up with Ryan Carson, the chef at Anki. He was working at this place called The Playground, and they had opened up this like place called Playground 2.0 that was like this restaurant theater kind of place. So it was like, at that point, it was like cool to have the chef's counter and all those things, and like not that it's not anymore, but you know, like so he was like, yo, let's do this Wanderlust pop-up.
Yeah.
And do Italy. Since you're just coming back from Italy, you can do this Italian menu. And I was like, oh my God. It was like, okay. So like, you know, we're trying to write this menu for this pop-up, and it was crazy experience. And like, because I've never done that before. I've never been in charge of like writing a menu for guests or like trying to come up with like dishes